Don't know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Black Crow Walking and Fiona Rhymes, coming to you from Facebook land. No, we're not. I'm coming to you from my bedroom, and Fiona's on her front veranda. There you go. Um, we are studying A Course of Love today, and it's by Mari Perron, and it's been incredibly valuable to me. My life is changing. And at the moment, we are discussing a chapter called Withholding, which has been quite interesting to see how we withhold our love, and what the effect of that is that we withhold from ourselves the love that others could bring to us, but also our own love. So we're starting at chapter 14 at the moment. What is another way in which you withhold pieces of relationship for yourself? There is another way. This withholding is not of the form of grievances, but of the form of specialness. You withhold in order to make another special, always at another's expense. All your efforts to best your brothers and sisters are thus all competition, all envy, all greed. These all relate to your image of yourself and your efforts to reinforce it. This is your desire not to be intelligent, but to be more intelligent than your colleague. This is your desire not to be generous, but to be more generous than your relatives. This is your desire for wealth that is greater than your neighbours, attractiveness greater than that of your friends, success greater than that of the average man or woman. You pit yourself not only against individuals, but groups and nations, teams and organizations, religions and neighbors and family members. This is the desire to be right or in control or to have more or be more. This is life based on comparison of illusion to illusion. You do not see this as withholding, but what you claim for yourself at another's expense is indeed withholding. And in your world you know not how to claim anything for yourself without withholding it from someone else. You have not set yourself up in a position to withhold your intelligence from others lest they profit from it. You have now set yourself up. You have now set yourself up in a position to withhold your intelligence from others lest they profit from it. You want your intelligence known and recognized, but you want it known and recognized as yours. If someone wants the intelligence you have to offer, something must be given in return. What you demand can range from admiration to money, but it is all the same, and the demand is always there. It is the ransom that you insist be paid, the homage you claim is due, that without which you will withhold what you have, and you are thankful for those things with which you can demand ransom of the world, for without them you would be the one called upon to pay. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
That last bit is reminds me of NVC, Fiona, because with NVC, which is nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg travelled the world teaching NVC with no desire for remuneration. And he offered it freely to the world because he felt that that was what the world needed to learn to communicate in a non-violent way. And now we have all these people setting themselves up and charging thousands and thousands of dollars to do NVC. And simply because they know how to do it. And yet it is something that the world needs so desperately, so stop the war, and yeah, so I guess for me it's been a bit of a bugbear really that he's not being honoured in the way that he originally brought it to the world. Anyway, let's have a look. There is another way in which you withhold pieces of relationships for yourself. This withholding is not of the form of grievances, but of the form of specialness. You withhold in order to make yourself special, always at another's expense. All your efforts to best your brothers and sisters are this: all competition, all envy, all greed.
Mm.
Got any thoughts about that?
I guess the whole concept of withholding yourself is very interesting. And not sharing what you have. That concept is it's quite strong language. You're actually withholding yourself. It's not. It's not a. Yeah, it's quite confronting.
It is.
That's what we do. It is confronting. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
also
I'm still absorbing that word withholding. You are withholding.
yeah, and all your efforts to best your brothers, to best them. I remember my brother and I, my eldest brother and I were pretty much in competition with each other.
Yeah.
I remember him rolling, walking down the hallway, and he'd see me at the end of the hallway, and he'd go, "Oh, woe is me!" And I know he was only teasing, but you know, um, yeah. So anyway, these all relate to your image of yourself and your efforts to reinforce. This is your desire not to be intelligent, but to be more intelligent than your colleague. I guess that's what we do when we're in business. Well, I guess it's what I see on television, with the dog eat dog world in the executive, high rise thing. You got to be the best person to get the promotion and that sort of thing. So you got to step on other people to get there. And I've never experienced that myself because I've never been in an executive position, but I've seen it on the television. It must be real. Yeah.
I watched the movie Hidden Figures on Friday night, and it's about the women, the Negro black women who worked for NASA, and they developed the formulas for the first manned flight in space to actually be able to return to the Earth safely. So they worked out the trajectory, and this one woman worked out the figures. But every time she wrote a report, she had to write the man's name that she was working there. His name was Paul. So, she'd have to type up the report for all her figures, and it'd be Paul. And of course, he never wanted to concede. It always had to be his work. And it's, they wouldn't even drink from the same coffee cup as her. And she had to travel, she had to walk half a mile to the toilet because she couldn't use the same toilets. But still, it was him and his desire to be, to be better than her. He wouldn't concede that it was her figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says greed. There was greed there, wasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably envy, and probably a sense of competition as well.
Yeah.
But I wonder what it was for her. There was humiliation there. frustration. There would have been so many different feelings that she felt in order to survive and feed her children.
Yeah.
You know, that's basically what we're trying to do when we're dog eating dog
Mm, mm,
surviving in a world that is putting us in a position of having to compete with each other. And
mm,
so we do withhold. We withhold what we've got as precious so that we can gain in some ways. Yeah.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. When I was working, I had my own business. Um, I used to share what I had or share knowledge. And it was sort of like seen as very strange to do that. Um, and when others sort of played the game of, going behind my back or, doing the wrong thing, I found it really weird. I just couldn't understand it. Yeah,
Mm.
but that whole term of coming back to the withholding, when you're trying to, you think yourself better than the person, doing something beside you. Oh, I'm better than that person. Um, I, I'm just sort of thinking about what happens to me if I get into that position. And you sort of concentrate so much on yourself, you do withhold a lot of your energy. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm. So it does, and so this is your desire to not. Sorry, this is your desire not to be intelligent, but to be more intelligent. This is your desire to
Mm,
be not to be generous, but to be more generous than your relative. This is your desire for wealth that is greater than your neighbours, attractiveness greater than your friends, success greater than that of the average man and woman. You pit yourself not only against individuals, but groups and nations, teams and organisations, religions and neighbours and family members. This is the desire to be right or in control or to be more or be
mm,
more. This is life based on comparison of illusion to illusion. And I'm thinking that possibly this sort of being more than starts as children when you know, our parents might favour one child over another, and we suddenly find ourselves in competition for love.
mm,
From our mother or our father, and then there's that situation where you get on better with your father than your mother, and there's a whole competing thing again, or wanting to be more to your child. Um, and I think in some ways I have that at the moment with my son. I want to be more to him than what I am. So, but that doesn't make me at this time behave any different, because I don't need to. I haven't got that illusion happening that I can be more, because
mm,
a relationship like between someone is a two-way street. And don't withhold love from him. I don't feel he withholds love from me. He just doesn't know how to bring it to me in some ways. And I guess that could be somewhat the problem in the world at the moment. We don't know how to love. You know, my parents didn't know how to love for a very long time because they came from dysfunctional families. And how many dysfunctional families are out there? Like, do you actually know anybody who has a functional family? I don't. So we're not taught to love, are we? But we evolve into it as we get out of our minds and into our hearts. And I think that's the trick. This book is all about getting us out of our minds and into our heart space and
mm,
coming
mm,
from the
mm,
heart.
mm, mm. Yeah, that withholding, I had a situation where my sister went into hospital, but they didn't tell anybody.
Oh.
They withheld that information. So it's sort of, it's not, I'm just trying to think of that competitive, I was trying to, and that myself and my nieces have discussed it, and my sisters have discussed it, the other ones, about how difficult that was, about that withholding of that information. I'm just trying to think of how that fits in here. I know it was
What
withholding.
did they benefit from withholding it? What was the benefit?
Holding on of power.
And that's a very valid thing that people do. To have power is they withhold. And it's just an illusion where life is based on comparison of illusion to illusion. Where when we're not loving, when we're in fear, we're in illusion. And when we're needing power and control, and that's what we're trained to do. We're trained to control ourselves, and we're trained in order to get things, we have to control others. And it's all an illusion.
I think it was definitely coming from a place of fear about what was going to happen. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah. It's, that withholding of just sharing and loving. Yeah. The effect on the others was, on us was, and on me was quite incredible.
Is that a bird that we can hear in the background there?
I was thinking I might have to move because they are so noisy.
That's all right, as long as we know what they are.
Oh, there's a lot of birds. They're having a chat.
I've never heard a bird that sounds like that, though. What sort of bird is it?
I don't know. I've got a lot of Indian miners.
Okay. So you do not see this as withholding. So thus is life based on comparison of illusion to illusion. We do not see this as withholding, but what you claim for yourself at another's expense is indeed withholding. And in your world you know not how to claim anything for yourself without withholding it from someone else. I'll just say that again. In your world, you know not how to claim anything for yourself without withholding it from someone else. You have now set yourself up in a position to withhold your intelligence from others, lest they profit from it. You want your intelligence known and recognized, but you want it known and recognized as yours. If someone wants the intelligence you have to offer, something must be given in return. What you demand can range from admiration to money, but it is all the same, and the demand is always there. It is the ransom that you must insist be paid, the homage you claim is due, that without which you will withhold what you have, and you are thankful for those things with which you can demand ransom of the world, for without them you would be the one called upon to pay. So, I so get that we need to make a living. I understand that. And I do understand selling your intelligence. I understand that as well. But how do we be in the world and be generous with that? If it's our way of making a living, how do we be in the world and be generous with that? And I guess really it's a question for the individual. Oh, I don't like that word anymore because we're not individual. Love experiencing life in form. It's funny, catch yourself
Mm,
saying these programmed words in our and we're still walking in the patterns until we notice them and go, "Oops, there it is." Yeah. So I'm going to sit with that today and just I guess notice when I'm withholding my intelligence and how I withhold that intelligence, and am I demanding something for that intelligence? Um, and just work through it, because I can't say that I understand how to be in the world. I mean, I do give generously with I do give generously with
yeah.
offerings, in lots of ways. But I also run retreats where I charge money and to come to the retreat, and I have to because I have to pay for the food, I have to pay for the accommodation,
Mm, mm,
and and remuneration for my time is factored into it. But there are a lot of things that I share with people and give to people. And my NVC classes are free. All the meditations
yeah.
are free. So
Mm,
yeah, so I guess I am generous and in lots of ways, and I guess we find ways to do that, don't we? So we find
mm,
ways to survive, but we also find ways to share and give. And it's not like I guess I guess really if we go deeper, Fiona, um, and we look at um, the collective consciousness that knows everything. It's freely available um, if we tune into our hearts and
mm.
start to listen to that still small voice. What if there was a God box where we had to put money? We had to put money to get universal intelligence. That would be hilarious. And dial a number. We had to dial a number to get the generous intelligence of the collective consciousness. That would be quite funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So bringing it, I guess, bringing what we have understood from spirit to the people is
Mm,
generous.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A couple of things are coming up. I mean, uh, is there a guilt when you charge? I don't like that word. No, I'm not going to ask that. Um, I mean, I
Program.
think there is a thing about sharing and sharing the knowledge.
Mm.
And if Marshall Rosenberg, traveled the world and gave it freely, however, I think there is also an appropriateness in charging an appropriate fee um, that is not about um, your personal gain and making yourself wealthy. It's a balanced fee, and you look at what it costs you and what you need to feed yourself and to house yourself. I think there's a very different thing between saying, "Oh, we can make a lot of money out of this, and we're going to charge $1,000 a weekend, and we'll make a profit, and we'll be better than all the other trainers." I think there's that sort of attitude,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
think that's what they're trying to say. And we won't give them all. We'll withhold some this weekend because we won't give it all, and we won't tell them all about it because we want them to come back for the next weekend.
Mm.
I think that's the sort of we withhold something. Um,
Yeah, so
as
it's you're
opposed to
saying
a very generous giving of a weekend where you have to charge to balance out your costs.
mm,
It's not that sort of, oh well, I'm gonna run a better workshop than anybody else. I'm going to take those. Finding out about another workshop that somebody's running, and actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out who's going and call them and get them to come to my workshop. Um, there's not that level of, I don't see that level of competition or, um, I mean, that sort of happens in other places. Well, no, we're going to, still that customer's client. We're going to, yeah, we're not going to give them all the information we know about something because we're going to withhold it or charge a higher price. Yeah, I think there's that, and there's that balance, and I see that generosity coming through from you. I attend your free classes, and that's just so beautiful. And you share your information freely, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess,
Yeah,
and because you
it's
live in Sydney too, and you're very much in a world where the competition and the withholding is very real and in your face,
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
training in that. We are trained to do that by a dysfunctional system that
mm,
that isn't based on love, and it isn't
yeah,
based on generosity and sharing what we have. And I
mm,
wonder if that goes back to the cave, you know, where where I was in a conversation with some men once, and we were discussing how women share their feelings so much easier than men. And why is that? And they were saying, well, it goes back to the cave, where if you shared your feelings, um, someone might come
mm.
in your cave and hit you over the head with a mallet and take your woman. you know. So there's a kind of protective element there, with a withholding element where it's not safe for them to share their feelings. And so yeah, it's really interesting, this withholding subject, because
Mm,
it is based on competition and envy and greed and those things that we're trained to get. We have to get things. We have to be things. We have to do things, and it's love is not about that. So yeah, interesting conversation, and certainly something that I'm going to think more of through the day,
mm,
in
mhm.
the way that life has become some sort of a competition.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think with yoga, there's so many yoga places, operating and sort of, go advertising and, you get so many classes for this and, um, you know, um, we'll try and get, as many people in, in a large space and we ought to make this sort of money. Whereas again, I think, yoga is not about that. It's about an inner, an inner journey.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, it
And I
is.
think, and it's not about, so there's a lot of things about that. And we can make a lot of money out of teacher training. We
Mm.
do teacher training. Yeah, so we'll churn out these teachers, charge a lot of money to train them. But, what is again, we won't give them everything. We can withhold, but, and we'll just try and be better and make more money than the other person. It's
Mm.
not in the spirit of what yoga's about either. When you're talking about Marshall Rosenberg, I can sort of see that similarity.
Mm.
It's about sharing of the knowledge and about enlightening people and helping them on their journey.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I love the way the Chinese meet in parks and do their Tai Chi,
yeah,
and it's people just go to the park and do it together. That's
mm, mm,
such a
mm,
beautiful expression of energy being enjoyed together.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And I remember in the 70s I was very involved with learning to be a psychic healer at that stage, and Reiki appeared on the earth. And suddenly it cost thousands of dollars to do Reiki, whereas when it first started, everybody was sharing it generously, and then suddenly it became a
Mm.
$1,000 thing, and you become a master, and then you can charge thousands of dollars to train someone else to be a master. So I wonder what master is, because I
Mm.
remember when I first started teaching Tai Chi in Australia, I learned from a Chinese man, and he was telling us that we learnt 10 moves in 10 weeks. And he said in China, you have to stand in front of the master's house, sometimes for 3 years, before he will consent to teach you.
Mm.
And then, if he consents to teach you, and you probably follow him around and carry his groceries for him as well, um, if he consents to teach you, then he will only teach you one move until you have mastered that move. And we're in a society where everything is fast, everything has to be done now, and there's no mastering of anything. And I think if we could master withholding, um, or
Mm.
stop it, which is more
Mm.
like it, stop this withholding and come from a generous heart that is
Mm.
loving, and just giving that love generously to our families and our workmates, and the person behind the counter. Um, I think
Yeah.
the world would be a better place. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you are withholding, and when you're sort of thinking about yourself and focusing on yourself and what can I do better? How can I make more money? There's so much energy goes just on focusing on yourself. It's all inward, and it's not looking outward. And often, you might not notice what's happening around you because you're so focused on yourself. Yeah, so it's withholding all your energy within. Um, I sort of see it that way as well.
So if you're withholding from
Mm.
others, you're withholding from yourself.
Mm.
And I do agree. I do agree that. Oh, I don't even like the word agree anymore. There's another word. There's another word.
Just we'll be sitting here in future going,
Yeah, that's it.
mm,
Yeah. So I don't like this word agree, because it belittles someone else, and
mm,
yeah. So I'm thinking that there's another thing. I don't want to think anymore. I want to feel. Feel with my heart. Isn't it funny? We're struggling with these concepts.
mm.
Um, to come from the place that we're choosing to come from, and it is a training, and it is a practice. To come from the heart and to feel rather than think. And as soon as I say the word think now, I know I'm coming from the wrong place. Oh, and there's another word. Wrong.
Wrong.
Right, wrong, good, bad. I think we're going to give up on today, Fiona, before we get ourselves in the big doo doo. But anyway, yeah, and
Yeah, well, as I say, I when I'm in a situation and I'm thinking and I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm thinking and I'm comparing myself to somebody else.
mm,
There's so much what I'm trying to say. I think that the withholding, what that means for me is I've got so much energy focused on myself, and doing all that comparison in my head, that that's where the energy is, and it's not coming from the heart.
yeah,
Because there's
comparing
no space
mind.
left for that.
Mm,
Yeah, if that,
comparing
yeah,
mind. Mm,
yeah, comparing mind. There's so much energy goes into that.
mm.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, so we just stop it.
mm. I
Stop.
know.
Just stop it.
Yeah,
Don't
but
do it.
the withholding is a really interesting concept. That yeah,
Mm.
what are we withholding? Yeah, we're withholding love, support, sharing, acceptance,
Kindness.
trust, kindness. Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
withholding the qualities of God,
mm,
or supreme being, or consciousness, collective consciousness. They're the qualities of God that we're withholding. in the process of the greed, in the process of the envy, in the process of comparison. That's what we're withholding, and with when we withhold it from others, we withhold it from ourselves. All right, lovely. I'm going to go and start my day. Just to let you know, world, that we love you and that we are very real and still doing the practice ourselves. So let's learn together today. And
And let's
thanks.
just love, come from a place of love.
Yeah, it's so much easier to do that than all this mind stuff that gets us into trouble. Yep.
Uh, just can I share? Um, my 9-year-old great niece last night,
Hang
I
on.
just sort of
You
said,
know
"Oh,
we're still on air. Is that okay?
yep."
Yep.
She
Okay.
said, "Well, the saying, we'll have to agree to disagree."
Mm, very
And
interesting.
she came back with, "We'll have to disagree to agree."
Oh,
She's 9. So I just thought that might be nice to throw in there, just for people to think about.
yeah. And
Okay.
that disagreement creates a disconnect.
Hmm.
So when you see yourself disconnecting and you don't want to do that in disagreement, it brings you back to agreeing with each other, agreeing to love,
Hmm.
agreeing to share, agreeing to be open to hearing what the other person has to say. Mm.
Hmm.
All right, lovelies. This is goodbye from me for today. Love you. Thanks for sharing, Fiona.
Bye. Thank you, Pro, for providing the space.